Picture this. You stand on the edge of a cliff, wind screaming in your ears, chest thundering in your chest. You believe you know you. You believe you've tamed your mind. But then, without warning, a shadow appears, a test so savage, so unforgiving, that it peels away every veneer you've ever adopted. This is psychoersto. Most individuals who encounter it never reach the end, because psychoersto isn't somewhere, it isn't someone. It is the tempest within your own mind, the test you didn't anticipate. And here is the truth. Once it starts, you can't escape. You master it, or it devours you. Now you may be thinking, that was dramatic, I've had tough times too. But let me tell you, the laws of psychoersto are not the rules of life you've lived by so far. They don't bend, they won't forgive, and they don't wait for you to be ready. That is what is so frightening about it. It starts slowly, like a whisper at the back of your head, a doubt, a pause. One decision you put off, 1 second you shirk, and you don't even notice when the whisper has become a roar, pulling you further and further in. But don't turn away, because if you see what I am about to share with you, you'll know why psychoersto is the best challenge of your life, and why only a few dozen ever emerge from it. The first principle of psychoersto is this: you will be tried in silence. There will not be a chorus of cheers, no applause, no audience to applaud you. It is you against you, and that is what makes it so perilous, because the fights that take place in silence are the ones that shatter most people. Consider it. The warrior in combat, the player on the court, even the orator on a podium, they all encounter difficulties, yes, but they also have witnesses to their efforts, people who urge them onward, people who demand they engage. In psychoersto, you don't have that. You have only yourself, alone with the burdens of your own mind. And when silence becomes oppressive, most break. But this is the bad news. Silence is not the enemy. Silence is the mirror. It reveals to you what you truly are when you have no one and nothing to hide behind. And that reality, it is usually too much to bear. I'll illustrate. There was a man, a leader, who was considered untouchable. People envied him, feared him, even trusted him with decision-making in times of crisis. But when psychoersto struck him, when the quiet enveloped his existence and removed the din, he understood something grotesque. He wasn't leading out of strength. He was leading out of fear, fear of appearing to be weak, fear of being forgotten. And when the mask broke, so did he. This is why so many of them fail. Not because psychoersto introduces new difficulties, but because it reveals the ones you've been dodging all along. Now you may be thinking, if it is so cruel, why confront it at all? Why not skirt around it? That is the second rule. You don't select psychoersto. Psychoersto selects you. It will come one day, without notice, without pity. And when it comes, you'll have two choices: fall or rise. And this is where the secret surprise is. The result isn't determined by what you have to work with, or how powerful you perceive yourself at this moment. It is about whether you've prepared for a storm you didn't anticipate, and most folks haven't. That is why, as we go further, you have to remain with me until the end. Because the third and last rule of psychoersto is the one nobody discusses, the one that decides if you leave changed or wrecked. But we're not there yet. First, I have to show you the hidden stages, the traps that destroy people without them knowing it. And when you see these stages, you'll never view your own battles in the same way again. It doesn't come all at once. That is the error of judgment on the part of people. They think of psychoersto as an instant flash, a blaze that engulfs everything around it. But it comes in stages, each stage more lethal than the previous one. The initial step is doubt. It is tiny, isn't it? Just an idea, a whisper. But doubt is a seed, and seeds develop roots. You question your decisions, your value, your direction. You play back conversations in your mind, wondering if you said the wrong thing, whether you've already failed. And the evil thing is this: doubt doesn't yell, it seeps, slowly, endlessly, so that each step becomes harder than the previous one. But if you think doubt is harmless, you are already in trouble. Because doubt is the door psychoersto uses to step inside your mind. After it gets its toe in, the second phase comes in: distortion. Distortion distorts everything you see. The world is not as it seems. Friends turn into enemies in your mind. Opportunities appear to be traps. Even silence begins to sound accusatory. You look at yourself in the mirror and see a stranger looking back. This phase is cruel, Because you trust nobody, including yourself. And when you trust nobody, you are open to everything else. Here's the painful truth. Most people never survive past distortion. They spiral. They sabotage their own lives. They give up on relationships, abandon goals, destroy their peace, and then wonder why life feels so unbearable. But Psychoaristo isn't finished yet. If you're still standing after distortion, it unleashes the third stage, disintegration. This is where the mask unravels. All you've constructed to shield yourself, your reputation, your routines, your habits, starts to crack. You can no longer fake confidence. You can no longer pretend that you are okay. And worst of all, other people begin to notice the cracks as well. Consider how horrifying that is. You've maintained it for all these years. You've kept your head held high. But now, you can't conceal it. And as disintegration seeps further into your being, you feel exposed, naked, and vulnerable. But that is where the paradox starts, because deep within disintegration lies the very first genuine opportunity for change. The majority of them will flee from it. They will hold on to the shreds of their past self, sealing the cracks with denial, excuses, or blame. But there will be a few, only a handful, will peer into the broken pieces and say, "Good, finally I can see the truth." And that is when Psychoaristo changes. That is when the tempest transforms from an adversary into a teacher. But watch out, because just when you are starting to get it, Psychoaristo pulls its nastiest trick, the step that shatters the strongest, and it is one you are not yet ready to encounter. Hang with me, because once you know, you'll see why nearly nobody survives the last rule. You thought doubt was bad, you thought distortion was intolerable, you thought disintegration was rock bottom, but you were mistaken. Because the fourth stage of Psychoaristo is domination. This is the phase when you are no longer battling thoughts. You are battling yourself. Your own mind becomes the adversary. You don't feel merely exhausted. You feel possessed. Every decision seems like it is not yours anymore. Every sentence you speak feels dictated by some unseen force. Domination is where Psychoaristo doesn't merely whisper. It dictates. It tells you to quit when you're inches from success. It tells you to lash out at the people who care the most. It tells you that escape is the only option, and you believe it. Because after doubt, after distortion, after disintegration, you're too weak to resist. Here is the scary truth. Most folks don't even realize when they hit domination. They just get used to the new reality as normal. They don't notice that their life has been hijacked. They wake up each morning thinking they're making choices, but actually, Psychoaristo is making them. It makes them choose what they fear. It makes them avoid what it pleases. It makes them remain small. And that is why not many make it to the final level. But there is a loophole, a razor, thin opportunity to break free, not by fighting against domination, but by comprehending it. You see, domination flourishes in secrecy, when you are suffering in isolation. But when you bring it to the fore, when you expose its strategies, its power starts to crack. That is why you are still here reading, because some part of you already understands. You've gone through these phases before. Perhaps you are going through them now, and the fact that you haven't hit close button is something significant. You are ready for the ultimate revelation. Because there is one last phase of Psychoaristo, the most violent, the most transformative, the one that nearly no one survives, but the one that has the power to turn everything around if you do. And when I share it, you'll never look at yourself or your struggles the same way again. Hold on tight. The ending will change you. You've walked through doubt. You've lived through distortion. You've crawled through disintegration. You've survived domination. But the last step of Psychoaristo is the most deadly of them all. It is called devouring. This is where Psychoaristo no longer governs you and begins to devour you, not bit by bit, but whole. Your dreams disappear. Your vitality crumbles. Your very self disintegrates. You are no longer you. You are now the shadow of fear, the echo of anxiety, the minion of chaos. Devouring doesn't occur overnight. It creeps. It is silent, almost unseen. It begins when you stop questioning, when you stop resisting, when you conclude, this is just how life is. That is when Psychoaristo feeds. It feeds on your apathy. It sips your silence. It grows from your surrender. And here is the most frightening part. Once you are consumed, you don't even notice it. You live life like a ghost, breathing, speaking, smiling, yet empty inside. People glance at you and say, they're fine. But on the inside, you are already gone.